All right, folks, 10-minute review. We're going to start with, well, at least you get something that's eye candy versus having to listen to my sonorous voice. What do we have today, Toots?
Schlieffen's War.
Right, and what have I been reading on seemingly exclusively the last couple weeks? World War One.
World War One.
And in fact, Miss Katie got me for Father's Day a new book on World War One.
1914 to 1918.
By Stephenson, I think. Yeah, we'll get to it later. But we just finished playing this. We liked it, but let's Miss Katie show you her new fashion accessory.
Yeah, you guys gotta check this out.
You guys have to check this out. It is my granddaddy's World War One belt on Miss Katie.
And it fits.
And it fits. So what else do we need to say other than that?
Okay.
Bye-byes. All right, folks, we continue our run of playing 1914 type games and World War One games in general. Here we have Schlieffen's War by Decision Games. Here's the big picture. Up there, you got the combat result table, you have the train effects chart, and guess what? You have the same thing down here. So, but this is the way our game ended up. So let's actually talk about the game. We purchased this several years back as a lighter alternative to other World War I games, but it fell out of the possible reviewing loop at some point just because it wasn't, well, it wasn't really one that had reached out and grabbed us at the time. So we said, well, what do we want to do here? Well, as we were playing these others, we said, well, let's see how Decision Games makes this one more interesting than the others. And I'm going to turn on the overhead lights here because I've got some other lighting issues going on. So, and that doesn't make it any better. So let me walk back. Sorry, folks. Counters, well, they're okay, but they could have done a little better. The font could have been brighter. I think the French blue is really kind of pale. You got the Belgians, the French, the Germans all work, but they needed to make the font brighter or thicker or more bold. It's like we noted here, it's a relatively standard decision game, magazine game. Map takes up approximately half the map board. Ergonomically, in terms of gameplay, it's set up very nice here. Turn track, French plan attack, eliminated units, terrain effect check. Ergonomically set up easy. It's a self-contained gaming space. The map's pleasant to look at. It looks like an atlas map. It's almost like a base relief. But keep looking at the terrain effect chart so it becomes second nature. I was surprised and glad to see that the game included the major trunk lines. Well, of course it has to for their supply rules, but I was still surprised at that because sometimes it's the old, well, Europe was awash in rail lines, so we don't need to put any rail lines on the map. I go back on that. It's an old panacea, makes it easy, but supply is traced through, let's see if we can find headquarters units to depot, 2 hexes, and then 2 hexes to a unit. So this starts to make supply iffy, not 2 hexes. Two, not terrain size, but 2 hexes. Starts to make it tough for the Germans as they move further and further away from their stuff. It is simple, no question, but logistics here are a tether or you suffer the impact. Gameplay. Well, gameplay, the interlocking of the tempo of maneuver, as you notice the things here, a land or the counter, you can become fatigued or you're in a state of normal. If you're a land, you get a shifts on attack and defense, positive. If you're fatigued, you get negative shifts. All the critical impacts of the elan, fatigue, supply, maneuver are handled pretty dang seamlessly here. Making the hard simple is always a crowning achievement in my book. It's like Miss Katie's cooking. How she does this time after time. She's a whiz in the kitchen, but she makes what for many people is hard simply. It's a crowning achievement because it's just so easy. And it's the same thing here. It's all seamless. It all just works. And even if you miss the mark by perhaps a little or you want to fuss about something, it still simply works for me. Remember, this is a magazine game. Now, should the Germans be higher rated or the French? Well, after playing it, I think they got this right because the two sides are relatively even, and all the history books I've read to get ready for this, all conclude pretty much the same things. Yeah, the French rifle isn't quite as good. The French quick-firing 75s is better, but no long howitzers, so yeah. But the French do not get away scot-free because they have the onus of mandatory attack table, French 17, Plan 17. So they must make 7 attacks or lose the game. And 7 attacks by turn 7. So the French get punished. The French just can't play turtle in effect here because they have to attack. And I like that because it is a good historical straitjacket of sort. You could play as your own optional rule, not have that. That would make things also interesting. Schlieffen's War is not a game for passive players. You play passive, you're going to get whacked. The French will reach out and smack you hard. I found that too many times as the German. And that's why the advance after combat is gut-wrenching, because the retreat rules are set up as such that if you, say, as the German player would try to retreat, we'll say the French are right here. Germans are here. Well, you can't retreat because if you advance after combat and then you try to retreat later, you cannot do so because you're in an enemy zone of control. There, so you die. Makes for an interesting game. The retreat rules are simply vicious. It's much fun. Liege, Namur, and Mabig, or Mogba, or my French is awful. The bones in your throat. You just can't get there. Get past those places fast enough. How fast you can eliminate them will determine how fast you get the sweep going to try to get there. And if you don't get here, the threatened powers in this zone, you won't win the game either. So, dealing with the self-imposed logistics of Elan, fatigue, the normal settings, getting folks back to strength, and getting within the red Parisian threat zone. Oh, it's a tough balancing act. It's a great tough balancing act. Unpredictable game, great replay value. As I often say of magazine games, don't buy it without the magazine. I find them always to be an enhancement to me every time. I found that BGG's rating undervalued this game by a wide country mile. The game covers well enough the main features of the West Front without a high gaming overhead, and it gives you some interesting wrinkles to consider. Now, what's our rating? Schlieffen's War, 3 for components, 3 for rules, 4 for gameplay, and it comes out to the mystical and magical 3.5 stars. I'd buy this one, folks. Yeah, I know BBG says it's a 6.6. Well, they can go stuff themselves because they're wrong, folks. Hey, you have a blessed day. It is 27 June. Life is good here. Thanks. Bye.